often do you hear of a teenager having to undergo hip surgery? The answer is probably not very often. FAI is a condition that's causing many teenagers to have to undergo hip surgery. This is a situation I have personally experienced, so I have a lot of background knowledge in it. As having this personal experience myself, I want to inform you on what FAI is, the hip's anatomy, and then I'll share my own experience with you. What is FAI? FAI is an acronym that stands for femoral acetabular impingement. So what is that? Dr. J.W. Berg defines FAI as a condition in which extra bone grows along one or both of the bones that form the hip joint. It's not something that you can develop, but it is something you are born with. Many people can have it and not know it because they have no symptoms that go along with it. But it can become known and you will have symptoms when there's damage to the cartilage or to the labrum. Symptoms can include pain, a sharp pain when the leg is bent past 90 degrees, stiffness, or limping. According to Deborah Pate, a chiropractor, she says that FAI can be determined by moving the affected hip and knee to a flexed 90 degree. The hip is then abducted and internally rotated in this flexed position. That will cause your symptoms to appear. It can be positively diagnosed by image testing. Some of that image testing could include an x-ray or in more depth tests like MRI, which shows damage to the labrum, or a CT scan. The anatomy of the hip. The hip is made up of the femur and the hip socket or the pelvis that attach to each other. The pelvis has a round hole, or what they call a socket, that the femur ball fits into. And the femur is a long bone with a ball shaped on the end. The ball fits into the socket and is held together by cartilage called the labrum. When FAI is present, there's a deformity of these bones. You can have a pincer, a cam, or a combination of the both. A pincer has extra bone growth along the hip socket, and the cam is a deformed femur head which causes them not to rotate smoothly. When you have a combination, there's the cam and the pincer both present. My own personal experience, I was first diagnosed with FAI by a physical therapist when he performed the 90-degree flexed leg that caused my symptoms to appear. I went to the doctor and they wouldn't clear my sports physical, so they took x-rays, and that's when I was for sure diagnosed that I had FAI because they could see it in the x-rays. They sent me to have MRIs where they did hip injections that that showed the labrum tears. We went to get a second opinion with a doctor named Dr. Carlisle, and he suggested we do cortisone shots. And the cortisone shots did not help, and he was going to take a long time to get to a final decision, so we went to get a third opinion with Dr. Harlan. He suggested that the only way to fix my hip problem was to have surgery. So I had my hip surgery on my left hip on December 7th, and on February 11th I did my right hip. Surgery was 3 hours where they made 4 small incisions, and in those incisions they stuck cameras and tools, and then section which got all the bone pieces, and with those tools they shaved the excess bone off so it didn't cause the bones to collide and tear the cartilage around there anymore. I was on crutches for a month, which meant I was non-weight bearing. The strangest thing for me was not being able to lift my leg. When they did surgery, they had to cut through all the muscle to get to my actual hip joint, and it was weird because I would stare at my leg and it would not move. And that was really weird because they had to get through they damaged that muscle, so I couldn't use it. In order to get movement back in my hip, I went to PT 3 days a week, and then they put me on a bike my first day, and I thought they were crazy because I physically could not move my leg and they expected me to pedal around a bike. I ended up going to therapy starting December 8th. I went all the way up until February 10th, and then from then on I went for 9 months. In conclusion, you learned what FAI is, how it is diagnosed, the different types that FAI can be, and you heard my own personal experience. So if you feel any of these symptoms, talk to a doctor and they can hopefully get your FAI fixed.